Welcome to the Motivation Without the Hype podcast with your host, Gez Perez. He's an author, high-performance coach, and motivational speaker. This show brings you inspiring messages and interviews to unleash your greatness in life and in business. So let's get started.
Hi everyone, welcome to Motivation Without the Hype podcast show. My name is Gez Perez, a former procrastinator into an action taker. We bring you inspirational messages and interviews, including motivational insights, tips, principles, and proven strategies that you can take action on without the hype in unleashing your greatness in life and in business. Now, we appreciate you plugging in and spending time with us. And we have a very special guest, and I'm super grateful to have her on the show, a fellow Aussie as well, same in the backyard in Queensland, which is the best state, even though I'm from Sydney. But now we have a guest. Her name is Simone Milasas. She has been the forefront, cutting-edge creation and business development for over 2 decades. Take note, 2 decades. She is the founder of Joy of Business, mentoring entrepreneurs around the globe to create greater wealth and happiness, and was instrumental in growing personal development company Access Consciousness from 4 to 176 countries. Now, in addition, she's also the best-selling author to Relationships, Are You Sure You Want One? Her other 2 books, Joy of Business and Getting Out of Debt Joyfully, are available in multiple languages, and we'll provide all the show notes there available to you. Simone, welcome to the podcast show.
Thank you, Gez. Thank you for having me here in the best state. I too was born in Sydney.
Which is the warmest state, by the way, guys. And it's so grateful to have you really on the show, really to have a fellow Aussie. So, Simone, please tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, it's funny when you went 2 decades. And I was talking to someone the other day and I said, I was living in London and I went 30 years ago and I went, am I that old? And I was like, I still think of myself as being like 35 or something. So yeah, it's funny that you say that. And look, short synopsis is I've always been interested in business. And as I, grew up at high school, every year, for some reason, it helped me. I would put this saying on my pencil case and I would write it on there. And it said, imagine what you would do if you knew you couldn't fail. Because to me, nothing made sense to me. You were supposed to figure out what you're meant to do, when you leave school, when you're at high school, what subjects you're going to do. You had this whole thing mapped out. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. The 2 things I knew I did desire to do was see the world, had a big desire to see the world, and create my own business. And everyone used to say to me, well, what business? And I'd go, I don't know yet. I just want to create a business, because to me, a business is something that you can get out there into the world to create a change, to invite people to something possible, to have way too much fun. And I thought that's how everyone looked at it, but apparently they don't. So I traveled the world. I wrote all this. I used to write all this stuff of what I would like to get out there into the world. So the first business I created was Good Vibes for You. And it was basically about changing the way people looked at themselves, each other, and the world. And I would have all these inspirational, sayings and things like that. I mean, you're from Australia. I used to do all of the music festivals for years. And I ended up doing merchandise for Missy Higgins and Pete Murray, and went on tour with them and did all this sort of stuff. And then at the same time, I met Access Consciousness and went to Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, went to a seminar with him. And I sat there in the audience just going, oh my goodness, this is everything that I would like to create in the world. I had this concept of almost like shaking people by the shoulders saying, don't you get it? There's something else. And he had these tools and these processes and these questions of actually how to change areas of your life that you think are not working for you. So me being me, quickly, found myself in Houston, Texas, going to some classes.
Wow, in Texas.
Yeah, I know. And I was Australians, we would usually go to LA, New York, they're the places that you think of. And I was in Texas just going, this is like another world. This is so different. And then I became the worldwide coordinator of that business for 18 years. Hence, we were in 4 countries when we started. And, that's been a fun journey of expanding the business of Access Consciousness around the world, literally by listening and following the demand of what's out there in the world. And now, I think we're in more than 176 countries now. And Yeah, I know. And now I facilitate a lot of the major classes and written books, and here I am today. And I was just saying yesterday, I am the happiest I've ever been so far. I'm asking for
That's
more
awesome.
happy, but I'm just
And
super
I can
happy.
see it in your face. Despite
And it's
despite the
5:45
early
a.m.
day.
Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's awesome. Now, you being, the forefront of business, and we just read through the bio, but what were your key learnings along the way, and what are the things that you succeeded? And, what were the peaks and the troughs? What was that major key learning that kept you going?
Look, I think the main thing, and I've got to say, it's using the tools of access consciousness, because most of us, try and control things, try and get it right, etc. And, to me, I was never surrounded by people who went, go for it. What do you know about this? What do you know? What do you know? What do you know? It was sort of like, look around and look at industry standard, then maybe base yourself on that. Don't go too much outside the box. I mean, my father was he died about 10 years ago, but he was very helpful and very supportive. And he was like, Simone, you have to choose your life. And he was like, I'm here for you, but you need to choose it, which I'm really grateful for in the way he taught me that growing up. And with the business of access, we like literally listen to the demand. Like if you had, built out a business plan and gone, right, because we were in US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, where would you go next? You'd pick an English speaking country. You would do, all this. The next place that we opened up was Korea. And it's like, that makes no logical sense. Like Korea, UK, and then Italy were the next 3 countries. So, but what we did was we listened. Because if you just stop and ask, like, what other possibilities are available, it's like you'll hear. And there were so many expats in Korea that were finding out about access consciousness and wanted us to go there. So I really do think it's imperative to be in question. And it's one of the tools that we would use in access too, is like asking questions. Because as you ask a question, all these doors open up and you have this download, this awareness, and then all these possibilities show up. And then you choose. You've got to choose. I cannot tell you how many people, you're probably the same, spoken to people who talk about what it is that they desire, but they don't friggin' choose it. And it's like, you have to choose, take some action. You may stumble and fall. Yeah. But pick yourself up and what are you going to do now? It's like, I've made probably more bad choices than most people have actually chosen, but I've chosen, and choose. Yeah. And then like, so you're asking questions, these possibilities open up and you're choosing, and then contribution. So to me, it's like there are 4 elements of creation: question, choice, possibility, and contribution. And the contribution is interesting because so many people look at contribution and go, oh, it's a one-way street. What can I contribute to you? Like I was talking to a friend yesterday and he kept saying about what he wants to give, gift, contribute. And I went, what if you actually started receiving as well? Because it's this 2-way street, and there's such a gifting in receiving and receiving in gifting as well. And to me, that's a really different energy that we can function from on the planet. So it's, I'm all for like looking at money and revenue streams and all that. I love that as well. But to me, there's something so much bigger and greater if you're willing to just stop, have some, some space, relax, and listen to what next and ask questions, because otherwise we tend to control what can show up rather than going, wow, what is actually truly possible?
Yeah, and that's powerful because not many people do that. They think of what they thought is best for them, but not actually listening and asking those questions and being more inquisitive, being more curious, be in a vulnerable state to say, okay, I'm willing to be open. And I think that's how you expand it in your business is, hey, I'm listening to the market. Let's go to there rather than, I'll go through my own intuition and do what's best that I think would be great, but not going into the market and really being, those 4 elements that you've mentioned has created that significant value around it. So that's really key learning. Now, you're a best-selling author as well, so I want to get into that. What inspired you to write this book, and what were the things that that came out of it that people start to gravitate to?
Okay, so I've written 3 books, and the first book I wrote was Joy of Business. And, I remember writing that and Gary, my friend and the founder of Access said to me, don't call it that. And I said, why not? And he goes, people won't get it. And I went, but that's what it is. And he went, but they won't get it. They don't do business for the joy of it. And I was like, I'm calling it that, hands on hips. I'm calling it that because that's what it is, And admittedly, when I first released the book, people were sort of like, is this woman crazy? Now it's, I think, in 16 languages and is really successful and has given people a lot of freedom. And for me, I really thought that everyone looked at business from the joy of it and would choose something to create their life as from the joy of it. Like what is fun for you that can bring you money, sort of thing. And I realized, that's not the way people look at it. Like I remember in a bar one day in Sydney, this friend of mine said to me, he said, Simone, I just got this new job. And he said, Simone, you make me sick how much job satisfaction you get. And I went, what are you talking about? And he went, do you realize every job you get so excited about it. Most people are like, hanging for Friday. And I was like, okay, I'm fine. With Monday, it's like, wow, we've got the whole week to create, and he was like, you're weird. So I think realizing that I'm weird and different, there's a whole lot of other people out there who are weird and different, and there's another possibility available. And then The Getting Out of Debt Joyfully was my second book. And look, Gez, I created myself to be an absolute financial mess. And it was from my point of view. Like I did things like, I don't need money. I can live without money. And I was doing business in India and then coming home and wearing a bindi on my head and long flowing skirt and no shoes and, went through all these different phases and really created myself to be a financial mess. I realized at one point I was 187,000 Australian dollars in debt and went, I have to do something about this. So I did. I started using the Access Consciousness tools, which I resisted a lot. I thought they were stupid and dumb, but I also realized what I'm choosing is not working, so I have to look at something different here. So I did. So that's what that book is about, and it has a lot of tools that can, either create, you don't have to be in debt to get something out of this book. It's also about creating, more financial wealth. And then the third book, which I think is hilarious that I wrote, was with my ex, and it's called Relationship, Are You Sure You Want One? And we put it into a question because we were like, we desire people to be in question. Like, nowadays it's not a necessity. You're not, the odd one out if you're single. In fact, almost now you're the odd one out if you're in a relationship, So there is more choice, but what if you could have choice with no judgment? So we actually launched that book in the US and we had all these TV shows and everything, and we split our relationship up. Our PR agent nearly had a heart attack and we were like, don't worry about it, we've got this, because we were in question. So, but that book also, a lot of people used to ask us how we were creating our relationship, and, it was different. It's like there was a lot of tools that we were using and questions we were asking that were different. So it's a very vulnerable book, actually. We put a lot of stories in there that people are like, you put that into a book? And we're like, uh-huh. So, yeah. So that's the 3 books that I have out at the moment.
Cool. And we'll make sure we'll put that in the show notes as well. There's so many key insights that you shared so far, and it's been enlightening. In terms of, our, journey through personal development and business development, one of the things that you share in your podcast show, as well as you share with your clients, is the question of, what stress and overwhelm is what we invent or create. And these are one of the questions that are normally asked. What are your thoughts and insights about, that we create and invent stress and overwhelm?
Yeah, look, I think it's an interesting thing to look at, because I've done it myself, where I go to, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. And what I would ask is, the next time you're doing that, like if you're listening to this show and you go, yeah, I relate to that, what if you stopped relating to it? Because that is the easy way to go, oh, I'm overwhelmed, and then you start to contract and you go, oh, I can't do this, Okay, what if you just created with that point of view? You've just like stopped anything else showing up, and you've stopped being in question, which is the whole thing which I spoke about at the beginning. So what I would ask is that you stop, like when you have that energy come up, just stop, and then give yourself a moment and ask a question. Is there another possibility here? Is there another choice? Because there's so many other choices. I mean, it could be at one stage, I'm a control freak of magnitude, and a guy I was working with said, you need to get an assistant. And I was like, I can't get an assistant. How can I do that?
I do it myself. Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, now I have like about 5 assistants around the world. So, and I'm so grateful for them all. And but what I did was I started my day and I would, everything I was doing, I went, could somebody else do this? And I realized there was like the first job I ever gave away was driving to the post office to pick up the mail, bring it back, open it, pay the bills, file. And I went, somebody else could do this. And that was like an hour and a half out of my day. And I was like, oh, that was easy. And so I started being in question of what else is possible. But also when you go to Overwhelm, ask, what am I avoiding with this choice? And what am I proving with Overwhelm? Because most of the time you're not actually willing to have a look at what else is underneath it. And there's always something else underneath it that is stopping you from choosing something greater and confining and going to this overwhelm. I mean, Jez, I don't know about you, but my family for years were always like, you work too hard, you do this, you do that. And I'm like, people go, do you get to have a holiday? I'm like, a holiday from what? From consciousness? I'm like, I'm good. I get to travel the world and have a lot of fun doing what I'm doing. It's like, I don't need to take a week off and do that. And yet in saying that, I do practice random acts of, like yesterday I went to the beach for a swim and I don't take my phone and I don't do stuff like that. Like I do allow myself that space so that I can be, for me, it's like that. I want to say, in touch with nature, with my being and my body, and it does a lot for me. So maybe if you're in overwhelm, you should, give yourself some nature space.
Yeah. And, a lot of people, and those who are watching and listening to the podcast show, it's easy to just go with the overwhelm and it's just, subconsciously automatic, but not having that conscious awareness. Oh, let's just question it. How do you build that habit? Is it more on, okay, I got to be consciously aware of it to say, okay, I am overwhelmed, but let's question it. Because it's easy to just go, oh, I'm overwhelmed, and and your day's ruined pretty much. And people are just so used to that type of habit. How do we change that type of habit to say and being aware of it?
So this is very complicated tool, okay? Ready, ladies and gentlemen? You know what? One of the things I do is I get sticky notes and I write a question and I put it on my bathroom mirror. Because hopefully you're brushing your teeth twice a day, right? And it's like, so as I'm brushing my teeth, it's like, then I would ask a question or I remind myself or I put reminders in my phone because we do tend to forget. And like you said, it's easy to go to something like stress and overwhelm. What if you made yourself uncomfortable and never function from stress and overwhelm? No matter who is choosing what around you. I mean, we're in December now. It's like this is ends up
at the end of the year.
It's the crazy time. It's like, I mean, in Australia, everyone's on holidays. It's, it's summer, it's Christmas.
They've started holidays in November. Everyone's just shutting down, right? I'm like, dude, it's clockwork, Anyways, that's just us.
But it is a crazy time. So then we go, it's a crazy time. So then how many people go to stressed out? And I'm sorry, I wish that Christmas Day was the best friggin' day of the year for everyone. But most of the time it's not. Like you have to deal with family. And some people out there, the rare ones have a good family. But most people have family who surround them and are not actually empowering them to be everything they be. I don't know about you, but it's like I'm the black sheep. They think I'm the weirdest thing in the world, and it's like I actually don't spend Christmas with my family anymore. It's like I haven't for years since my father died. And it's like because I choose to do what works for me. It's like I don't want to be overwhelmed going to my family, Christmas, lunch, etc. It's not fun. And it's like, so what if you actually started choosing what was fun for you? And that's a simple question. Like you could write that on a sticky note or anywhere that it is for you on your computer. What would be fun for me to choose today? And here's the other thing. How many of you have gone to the judgment that you're not meant to choose what's fun? I'm sorry. What if the purpose of life is to have way too much fun? Like, stop getting out of that rat race and everything that you've got to get right in life whilst judging yourself as wrong and start asking, if I was really choosing for me today and choosing what was fun, what would I choose?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's important to put those questions. And, by the way, sticky notes is not, not weird. I used to do that when I was trying to, when I was, losing weight, I'll put like an image there at my door every single day. I look at it, right? And then I got results. One of the things I use for reminders as well, like I have like an affirmation and usually I have my meetings at 10 and 3 p.m. And usually before that, like a pop-up goes, I'm empowered today. I'm here to contribute to my team. Like all these affirmations and it just pops up on reminders. And again, to some others, it may be weird, But again, you're just having that self-awareness. Like, yep, okay, cool. I'm recharged again. And just those little things makes a huge difference. So by you saying that, that's not weird. That's like rewiring your mind. Say, hey, yep,
Yeah.
constantly getting reminded, constantly asking questions so you can actually answer those questions.
It's
And one of the things that
simple.
you said, I think on one of your podcast episodes is about, what if there were no problems, but only possibilities?
Yeah.
Like, you probably use that a lot, but what's your key insights about that whole type of question?
Okay, so the way I've discovered over the years is the problems you have are invented, right? So it's usually because something hasn't shown up the way you thought it should show up, or, anything. I mean, that saying that I said I grew up with, imagine what you'd do if you knew you couldn't fail. Well, to me, there is no failure. It's like, I mean, and I've lost money, made money, done all these different things. But like I said, I've chosen. What I have done is gain awareness from every choice I've made. And most of the time where people, think, oh, that was that didn't work out. It's like, but what
Right? Yeah.
awareness did you gain? It's huge. So for me, it's so much about every time you think you've got a problem, stop again and ask, okay, if this wasn't a problem, what possibility would be available? Like turn your
Wow.
problems into a
Yes.
possibility. That simple.
Love that.
Yeah. I mean, it could be, oh, well, I don't go, I don't choose this, because you set your mind on something, but you're allowed to actually change your mind. Like one of the tools we talk about is choosing in 10-second increments. And people think that's fickle. No, it's not. It's smart. It's like this 10 seconds, what will I choose? The next 10 seconds, what will I choose? The next 10 seconds. So if you're living your life and your business and your choices in 10-second increments, it allows you to sort of, divert, change. And it's like change with, the energy of what's showing up. Like I would use an analogy of, I like snow skiing. And, when you're skiing and you're going down a hill, it's like you can't work out exactly what that's going to be like. You can go, okay, I'm going to go fast, I'm going to go here, but you've got to change. There might be, a stick, a snowplow, a kid, a tree. So you've got to be able to change all the time. Well, why can't we do that in our whole entire life? In everything, with our businesses, all of it. It's like change, 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 change. But always be in question. What next? What next? So it's like all the problems that you've decided you have. This is one of the weirdest things with access consciousness, right? But it's the energy's there, so I'm just going to go for it. It's like all the problems you've decided you have, where you destroy and uncreate it, and destroying and uncreating is just like pressing the delete button, a new slate. And then here's the access consciousness clearing statement. It's everything that is right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine, shorts, boys, perverts, and beyonds. And there's a whole bunch of stuff on that if you look up theclearingstatement.com. But basically, everything is energy. And we create these fixed points of view, the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that we buy from others as well. And what if we could just go delete, 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 and have this blank slate, this blank canvas every day that has no judgment and is functioning from question, choice, possibility, and contribution. A different reality is available for all of us. There's so many possibilities and we keep shutting them off.
Yes. I love it. Oh man, that's amazing. No problems, only possibilities.
Yeah.
Simone, I ask this question to every guest that's on the show. What is your meaning of motivation without the hype? And how do you use motivation for your personal success?
Okay, so I would say choosing for myself and coming out of judgment. And there has been so many areas of my life that I've judged nonstop. Like for me, my body was something I just judged for years and years and years and years and years, which is interesting. When I actually came out of judgment, my body started changing, and then, money, it's like judge that. And it's like, come out of that. So I'm going to say my self-motivation would be like, listen to what is available. The universe is opening up doors for you, like left, right, and center, above, behind, everywhere. And, I was watching this show the other day and this Aboriginal elder said, listen with your own ears and see with your own eyes. And I was like, that just nailed it for me. It's like, stop trying to choose based on everybody else. It's like, you can hear, and I mean, the Aborigines, they believe that everything has memory. So they believe the land, the trees, the bush, everything has memory. And they literally, if you stop and listen, you can hear the elders talking to you. But for me, it's like if you stop and listen, you can hear consciousness in the universe talking to you. Like stop the chatter of everybody else and start choosing what works for you.
Yes. Awesome. Love it, Simone. Well, thank you so much. Simone, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the show, really. And it was awesome. It's such a privilege as well. And you know what? For more information on how you can get in touch with Simone, look at our show notes on the provided links. And please do connect with her and follow her as well. All the links, website, social media, as well as her products on her books available, all provided on the show notes as well. Now, if this episode has been helpful and uplifting, we would love for you to write a review to inspire more listeners to get plugged in. We will continue to provide high-value content in each and every episode. If you don't mind sharing this podcast show on social media or inviting others, it would mean the world to me. Every time you tag me or tag us, we will get the opportunity to share those posts, and together we can make a difference in the lives of others through inspirational episodes just like this. So there you have it. In closing, continue to unleash your greatness and tell yourself that I can, I will, and I must, and we'll see you on the next episode.